Most people think they know the story of Manny Pacquiao, the rags-to-riches legend who conquered the ring. But the version of him you see in the sheer scale of the empire he operates in 2026. Today, we aren't just looking back at the belts. We're diving into the world of a retired titan whose net worth has eclipsed $220 million, a fortune forged from $1.3 billion in pay-per-view revenue and global endorsements. He remains the only man in history to hold the Guinness World Record for world titles in 8 different weight divisions, a statistic of physical dominance that stands untouchable. Yet his life today is defined by a different kind of intensity. We are stepping inside the world of a man who balances exhibition spectacles with high-stakes politics, diverse business ventures, and tireless public service. His world of retirement is defined by both luxury and relentless motion. He commands the skies in a Gulfstream G550 private jet for international diplomacy, utilizes a Bell 407 helicopter for domestic transit across the Philippines, and retreats to the 148-foot PacMan yacht, valued near $10 million for family leisure and high-level hosting. Anchored in his sprawling General Santos estate and a garage of high-performance supercars, Manny's post-boxing life is not about slowing down. It is about the continued expansion of his empire. His expansive General Santos estate reflects that transformation, functioning not merely as a residence, but as a sprawling, multi-acre monument to his journey. The mansion itself, masterfully designed by his wife, Jinkee, serves as the heart of the estate, defined by massive, open-concept living rooms that merge effortless elegance with high functionality. Upon entering, guests are greeted by a breathtaking tunnel of images, showcasing the defining, visceral moments of his career and his family's rise. The estate is further complemented by private guest villas, dedicated training facilities where he still maintains his championship-level fitness, and a private chapel where he finds spiritual grounding. Every square foot of this architecture was built not just as a home, but as a visceral symbol of survival turned into monumental success. His garage mirrors this narrative of ascension. When he demands raw, track-bred aggression, he slides into his Ferrari 458 Italia, a masterpiece of Italian engineering that mirrors the blistering speed he once displayed in the ring. Parked proudly beside it is his crown jewel, a Lamborghini Aventador, whose aggressive V12 silhouette stands as a testament to the prestige of his championship reign. For those days requiring a blend of performance and daily refinement, he opts for the Porsche Cayenne Turbo, a machine that balances high-speed utility with surgical engineering. His appreciation for classic design is anchored by the sleek lines of his Mercedes-Benz SL 550, a coupe that serves as a quiet nod to timeless elegance. His taste for sheer, commanding road presence is satisfied by his Lincoln Navigator and Cadillac Escalade, workhorses of the celebrity world, providing the fortress-like security and space essential for his large family and extensive political entourage. The collection takes an industrial turn with his rugged Hummer H2, an off-road icon that echoes his own physical resilience, and his trusty Mitsubishi Pajero, a sentimental favorite that remains deeply connected to his humble Philippine roots. Even when surrounded by these emblems of achievement, the most striking quality of his life remains the movement. Because Manny Pacquiao has never lived a life of stillness, his schedule remains as packed as his training camps once were, oscillating between boardrooms, government offices, and charitable missions. He treats his post-boxing life with the same frantic, calculated intensity that once made him the most dangerous man in the ring. To understand the architecture of his success, one must look back to the boy born in 1978 in Cabá, Bukidnon. Raised in the humble surroundings of General Santos City, Manny's early life was defined by a level of extreme poverty that few could endure. He was the fourth of 6 siblings, growing up in a fractured household where the weight of survival landed on his shoulders prematurely after his parents separated during his primary school years. At just 14 years old, he made a desperate, life-altering decision to leave everything he knew behind, moving to the unforgiving concrete landscape of Manila in search of a future. In the city, he lived a transient, exhausting life, often finding work as a manual laborer in construction just to secure his next meal. His bedroom was often the local gym, where he would trade his sweat and labor for the chance to sleep on the boxing mats. Despite the demands of his life, his spirit for learning remained intact, even if it had to be deferred. He eventually completed his high school equivalency in 2007 and later pursued higher education, earning a college degree in political science through alternative learning programs, followed by advanced studies in public administration. But long before he ever held a diploma or a championship belt, he mastered the one lesson that would define his entire adult life. The fight for survival is the greatest teacher one can ever have, and that fight became the foundation for everything he would eventually conquer. Manny Pacquiao turned professional in 1995, a scrawny, 98-pound teenager with blistering hand speed but absolutely no name in the global landscape. For years, he fought in relative obscurity, cutting his teeth on the regional circuit until 2001. Against Leonard on short notice, Pacquiao delivered a performance so blistering and unexpected that it introduced the world to a new breed of athlete. He didn't just hit hard. He hit from impossible angles, with a tempo and energy that left the boxing establishment breathless. From that night on, the PacMan era was officially underway. What followed was an unprecedented run that reshaped the sport forever. He became the only boxer in history to win world titles in 8 different weight divisions, accumulating over 12 major world championships. He stood as the lineal champion across multiple weight classes, and he maintained a championship-caliber level of competition across 4 separate decades. His commercial impact was astronomical, generating over $1.3 billion in pay-per-view revenue. This reached its zenith in 2015, when a long-awaited showdown with Floyd Mayweather Jr. became one of the richest events in sports history, generating hundreds of millions of dollars and capturing the collective attention of the entire planet. He didn't just fight, he systematically dismantled an entire era of legends. He authored masterpieces of violence and strategy, from the 2003 demolition of Marco Antonio Barrera to the brutal, grueling trilogy against Erik Morales. He pushed through the intense, visceral quadrilogy against Juan Manuel Marquez, a rivalry that tested both men to their physical limits and ended in one of boxing's most dramatic knockouts in 2012, a moment that still divides opinion among fans and analysts to this day. His longevity was arguably cemented in 2019, when at the age of 40, he defeated the undefeated Keith Thurman to become the oldest welterweight champion in history, a feat that defied all biological logic. Crucial to his evolution was a profound spiritual transformation. This shift became the bedrock of his character, providing him with a framework of humility and service that anchored him through the volatility of his later years. But as Manny Pacquiao's influence expanded beyond the ring, so did the weight of global scrutiny. The same platform that made him a national hero also placed him under an international microscope. Every statement, every decision, every belief now carried consequences far beyond sport. In 2016, his outspoken religious convictions sparked global backlash after comments regarding same-sex relationships. The reaction was immediate and international, costing him a major endorsement deal and placing him at the center of a cultural debate that extended far beyond boxing. He later issued an apology, reaffirming respect for all people, but remained firm in his personal faith. Alongside public attention, his financial dealings also occasionally drew media scrutiny, specifically regarding tax-related issues with the Philippine Bureau of Internal Revenue, adding to the pressure that followed his rise from athlete to national figure. His life never stayed in one lane, as he understood that his reach as a global icon allowed him to diversify his influence far beyond the ring. He expanded into entertainment and culture with the same competitive drive that defined his boxing career, venturing into the music industry with multiple studio albums that resonated with his fan base. His single, PacMan Punch, became a cultural phenomenon, and his musical efforts even saw him reach number 19 on the Billboard Adult Contemporary chart, proving he could command an audience through melody as well as strikes. Manny also found his presence on the big screen became a staple of Philippine cinema. His film appearances, most notably in the title role of PacMan, demonstrated a willingness to embrace the limelight and connect with his audience through the art of storytelling, further solidifying his status as a national pop culture figure. Perhaps his most enduring off-court legacy is his founding of the Maharlika Pilipinas Basketball League, MPBL, recognizing the lack of professional opportunities for grassroots talent across the Philippines. He built an entire league from scratch. The MPBL has become a vital pipeline for Filipino athletes, proving that he didn't just want to be an athlete. He wanted to build the infrastructure for future generations to excel. Each venture reflected the same pattern. He didn't stop moving. He simply changed arenas. His personal life is anchored by his wife, Jinkee Pacquiao, and their 5 children. Manny married Jinkee in 1999. She has been a constant presence throughout his career, ringside during his biggest fights, and later as a partner in his political and philanthropic ventures. Jinkee herself has become a public figure, serving as vice governor of Sarangani province and building her own reputation in business and fashion. Together, they have 5 children. Despite Manny's global commitments, his family has remained central to his identity. His commitment to service is a tangible, multi-front campaign for change through the Manny Pacquiao Foundation. His impact is far-reaching and structural, as he has spearheaded the construction of over 1,000 homes for displaced and impoverished families. He consistently funds and organizes medical missions that reach into the most remote rural regions of the Philippines and provides critical scholarships for underprivileged youth, ensuring that the cycle of poverty he broke is one that the next generation can transcend through education. Furthermore, he has become a first responder for disaster relief, coordinating massive efforts nationwide whenever typhoons or natural calamities strike, demonstrating a hands-on approach to national crisis management. This altruism serves as the anchor to his chaotic climb, proving that he viewed himself as a public servant long before he held a government office. His transition into politics was a maneuver that shocked the establishment, taking him from bloodied ring corners to the somber, legislative chambers of the Philippine Senate. He became one of the few athletes in history to successfully bridge both arenas of raw power and complex policy. As he transitioned into politics, the scrutiny shifted form. Critics questioned whether a man forged in the brutality of boxing could navigate the discipline of governance. His presidential ambitions in 2022 amplified that debate, turning his campaign into one of the most closely watched outsider bids in modern Philippine politics. He remains a living contradiction, a man who rose through the most violent profession on earth only to advocate for the most disciplined pursuit of national peace. Beyond the championships, Pacquiao's greatest achievement may be the standard he set. He inspired an entire generation of Asian fighters, transformed the Philippines into one of boxing's global powerhouses, and proved that a boy from the poorest streets could become one of the most recognizable athletes on earth. Long after the belts have faded and the arenas have fallen silent, the blueprint he created continues to shape the sport. He was never just a boxer. He was a movement, a symbol of what happens when poverty meets purpose, when hunger becomes discipline, and when talent refuses to stay small. He once said, "I've gone from not knowing where my next meal would come from to becoming world champion. Nothing is impossible if you trust God and work hard." From barefoot streets to global arenas, from hunger to empire, he proved that greatness is not given. It is built, punch by punch, until the entire world is forced to watch. And in the end, Manny Pacquiao is not remembered for where he started. He is remembered for how far he refused to stop going. Because somewhere in the quiet, dirt-paved outskirts of General Santos, the boy who once slept on the cold, unforgiving boxing mats is still running. Only now, the world is struggling to keep up with him. If you found this deep dive into the PacMan's life compelling, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more looks at the legends of the sport. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.